The tech-heavy Nasdaq index rallied 4.4%, closing up more than 20% above its April 8 low, swinging from a bear to bull market. The Dow Jones also exited a technical correction yesterday, rallying 2.8%. S&P 500 also up 3.3%. The Magnificent Seven stocks were on track to add $821 billion in market cap in yesterday's risk-on rally, and it's all being attributed to a reset in US-China trade relationship, with the US temporarily rolling back tariffs on most Chinese imports to 30% while both countries negotiate some kind of trading agreement. This led to a rally in risk assets and selling in safer havens like gold and treasury bonds. Trump also told reporters that China tariffs wouldn't return to 145% even in the event that no deal is reached within the 90-day pause, though tariffs could still go substantially higher. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says discussions will continue in coming weeks to pursue a broader trade agreement. So far, so good. Hello and welcome to Global Business Insights, where we look closer at headlines moving markets to equip viewers with perspectives on the business environment. Market analysts are advising caution as uncertainty has not quite dispersed fully, and separating noise from signal is still key to navigating today's environment. My advice is to keep an eye on the macroeconomic data and corporate releases, especially the outlook. On the US data that we are getting this week, April US inflation rate, the NFIB Business Optimism Index, retail sales data, and the API's weekly report on US crude inventories could all be providing more useful signal. Especially today's inflation read, perhaps the most important pointer on potential inflationary impact of tariffs, which will guide Federal Open Market Committee's next move. The FOMC have said they expect a transitory rise in inflation. CPI is expected to remain at a 2.4% rate in April on a year-over-year basis. Excluding food and energy, so-called core inflation is expected to run at a 2.8% annual rate, also unchanged from the prior month. Brent crude oil has also been extending gains at the start of the trading week, helped by temporary easing in geopolitical tensions and improving macroeconomic sentiment. Apple is reported to be considering price hikes for its upcoming iPhone lineup, but also wants to avoid linking any increases to US tariffs on imports from China, where most of its devices are assembled. Apple shares closed up 6.3%, tracking gains in the wider market after Washington and Beijing agreed to temporarily slash the reciprocal tariffs. South African mobile network operator MTN Group reported a 33% jump in first quarter core profit due to strong service revenue growth and lower device cost of sales in its domestic market and a more stable economic environment for its operations. Group service revenue rose 19.8% in constant currency terms, helped by 40.4% growth in MTN Nigeria, 39.5% growth in MTN Ghana. MTN South Africa continued to face challenges, especially in the prepaid segment, with service revenue growing just 2.6%. Koidu Limited, Sierra Leone's largest diamond producer, has halted operations and laid off nearly its entire local workforce of more than 1,000 employees. This came after a protracted dispute over pay and working conditions. Workers at the mine went on strike in December 2024 but suspended their walkout to allow negotiations. They then walked out again in early March. Chilean state-run copper miner Codelco said on Monday, that's yesterday, that it had reached an agreement with BHP for the multinational firm to explore the Anilo mining property. Codelco, in a statement, said BHP will spend up to $40 million to explore the area, and that could lead to a deal with Codelco to mine if there is a favorable business case. And in Egypt, the Suez Canal Authority Chief Osama Rabi said the authority is considering offering discounts ranging from 12% to 15% on transit fees to revive ailing traffic in the strategic waterway after attacks by Yemen's Houthis on Red Sea shipping. Rabi told privately owned Seda Al Balad television channel in a phone interview that the discounts could be applied within days after it received ratification from the president. And in Nigeria, the World Bank said yesterday that the economy recorded its fastest growth in about a decade in 2024, driven by a strong fourth quarter and an improved fiscal position, but warned that persistently high inflation remains a challenge. He added that bold reforms implemented by President Bola Tinubu, including ending costly petrol subsidies, slashing electricity allowances, and twice devaluing the naira currency, have added to upward pressure on prices. The World Bank's lead economist for Nigeria, Alex Siena, said during a presentation in the capital Abuja that the economy grew by 4.6% year-on-year in Q4 2024 and sees Nigeria's economy up 3.6% this year. He added that foreign exchange reforms have created a market-reflective, unified and stable exchange rate, allowing the central bank to rebuild official reserves now exceeding $37 billion. Later this week, we should get Nigeria's April inflation read. Guinea has cancelled a bauxite mining concession granted to Kebo Energy SA over failure to deliver on promised investments. The cancellation was announced late on Friday and was confirmed by a senior Guinea mining official. Today's deep dive is on ethics and the issues surrounding acceptance of an expensive Boeing aircraft gift from Qatar. Trump has called the move a very public and transparent transaction, while Democratic U.S. Congresswoman Kelly Morrison described the gift on X as corruption in plain sight, saying that to accept the gift, the plane would be blatantly illegal, a national security risk, and a clear conflict of interest, adding that the Constitution forbids it. It may not be wrong to show appreciation for help and support that the world's largest economy and influential superpower has given to many nations, but there are ethical rules that guide acceptance of expensive gifts. Even if we rule out a bribe for a favor and there is open disclosure, and if the plane can be refitted and rechecked for all the necessary security guardrails, there are still other issues. Ethical governance suggests that a gift or hospitality should not be accepted by a government official because of the recipient's position or because of anything they may do or not do as a leader. In this case, there is no contract or favor that is obvious in the context. Gifts can be open, harmless, unsolicited, and innocent, but still unethical and illegal, especially when you delve deeper into reasons for which it was offered, and of course the laws surrounding gifts in the particular jurisdiction. Indeed, a leader is free to accept a benefit or gift if no reasonable person would see it as giving rise to a conflict, or if it does not set a negative precedent or conflict with law. In this case, there could be a conflict with the Constitution, and it does look like a bad example for other leaders. You could say there is an appearance of corruption. In the US, the Foreign Emoluments Clause of the United States Constitution prohibits receiving gifts from foreign states without the consent of the US Congress. Some scholars have debated the applicability where it cannot be proven to lead to foreign influence and corruption and hurting ability to ensure officials maintain undivided loyalty to the US government. According to US Attorney General Pam Bondi, there is a way to make it legally permissible and less contentious. The plane would be gifted from Qatar's Ministry of Defense to the United States Department of Defense and later transferred to the Donald Trump Presidential Library before 2029. The Qatari-owned 747 is just over a decade old and one of the most luxurious private planes in the world. My view is that gifting to Ministry of Defense merely disguises the fact that this was intended as a gift for President Trump's use, and he should at least obtain congressional consent before accepting. Or much better, Trump could personally or the US government should pay fair value for it if indeed there is need of an aircraft. In the UK, wages slowed less than expected while the unemployment rate inched up to 4.5% in the 3 months to March after reporting 4.4% in the quarter to February. The market forecast was for a 4.5% reading in the reported period. The de minimis exemption for items valued at up to $800 and sent from China via postal services were in the past able to enter the US duty-free and with minimal inspections. Not anymore. But the United States would cut the low-value de minimis tariff on China shipments to 54% from 120% earlier announced, with a flat fee of $100 to remain starting from May 14. Also, China has removed a ban on airlines taking delivery of Boeing planes after the US and China agreed a temporary cut in steep tariffs. Officials in Beijing have started to tell domestic carriers and government agencies this week that deliveries of aircraft made in the US can resume. The group chief executive of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Ojulari, hailed as a star leading the top team overhauling NNPCL, is now saying he's committed to finding oil in Nigeria's northern region. Reportedly, over $3 billion has already been spent on this adventure. The administration of the former President Muhammadu Buhari launched the crude oil drilling project on the border of Bauchi and Gombe states, and this was later suspended with little clarity why, and now we also do not have an explanation on why it is being revived. While it's not wrong for NNPCL to spread exploration budget to cover the country as evenly as possible, if that is the wish of the federal government, it will not be able to win in the very competitive upstream sector with that kind of hazy strategic focus. Millions of taxpayers' dollars also will be spent, with many contractors and industry, domestic and international players benefiting and no doubt delighted. All this as we hear there is an ongoing forensic audit. Many had thought the new NNPCL administration would be focused on getting NNPCL ready for its IPO. The noise now is that there could be other priorities, especially as the election season gets closer, a time when NNPCL can be useful for other purposes. Ojulari needs to give clearer signals on his vision and to convince Nigeria of the difference he brings to the very familiar narrative. Asia-Pacific markets traded mixed after Wall Street's massive rally on the back of a US-China trade deal. Investment banks are also raising their projections for China economic growth in 2025. UBS believes China's GDP growth in 2025 could climb to between 3.7% to 4%, up from a previous base case of 3.4%. Morgan Stanley has also made upside revisions to its near-term GDP China forecasts. Goldman Sachs cut its recession forecast for the US to 35% from 45%, the first major brokerage to do so after a temporary tariff truce with China. Well, that's it on this edition of Global Business Insights. Thanks for watching. This is Bayo Ojulari.